Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Turf to the Terraces podcast. I'm Matthew Lill, and tonight I'm going to be joined by the very notorious, one of Hull's best, Sam Harland, stand-up comedian, and also many might not know him, but he is actually an ex-pro footballer, Scott Goodwin. Okay, so how are you doing, Sam? You all right?
Yeah, smashing, thanks. It's great to be here.
I mean, I did ask you a couple of times, and finally you're on, so I'm glad you've made it. Honestly,
Yeah, fantastic.
brilliant. And Scott, the man behind it all, the guy with the plan. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. I'm ready to go. Like you say, we've been very busy. I've been very needy. So yeah, let's get the show on the road.
Perfect. So this week's warm-up section will be basically giving you a little bit of an insight as to what to expect from the show going forward in our future episodes. So what we'd like to get on board is interviewing some of ex-footballers. It could be ex-England players, or it could be players from non-league all the way up to the Premier League. This is what we want to speak to, and we want them to give us their perception on the good, the bad, the ugly, the highlights of their career, the lows of their career, and then we'll finish off with a bit of a quick fire questions. So with the people that we're getting on board, we also like to get some sort of social movements on there as well. So hair game too, things like that, things that are making a big move in the footballing world, it'd be nice to get them on board. So this is what you can expect, and hopefully you're all going to enjoy it. A little bit of cheese.
Was that you?
Yeah, mate.
Was that you whistling?
Was it that bad?
No, that was good. But I thought it was like a computer. Like that.
Don't play up to it. I hate when people do stuff like that to me. Oh, yeah, you should do that again, mate. It was real good.
Mate, actually, I swear down on my life, that was good. So do that again, straight up.
No chance.
I swear down. I'm not even lying.
More stuff on my list. I'm a fucking soundboard now as well.
Well,
come on, help me out.
How's the mash?
Right then, so moving on to the first section, we've just kicked off. We're moving into the first 15 minutes of the game. This is the time for anyone who knows football to be settling into the game, maybe getting a fast start. So we're going to jump straight into asking Sam, our resident comedian, the good sides of being a comedian. Sam, how did it all start for you?
Oh, good question. Glad you asked. How did it all start? There was no master plan. Obviously, growing up in Hull in the 80s, I suppose. Never met a comedian. We had Norman Collier, and that was it. I didn't know we started. Didn't know what was going on. The old variety days were sort of dying, so I'd never seen a comedian till I was in my 20s. And how do you be a comedian? What do you do? So anyway, I ended up on the Wirral, and I went to drama school actually, but I was getting on a bit. I was in my 30s. I was at drama school. I had this accent, you see. I had this accent. A lot of the kids who went to this drama school, very middle class, shall we say, spoke proper. And someone was doing like Shakespeare or Brecht or one of the classics, the Greek stuff. They just had these wonderful flowing accents, and I had this. Do you know what I mean?
I think I can relate because being from Hull myself, you can probably agree with me here. As soon as you hear the voice on the TV, you're like, "Hey, he's from Hull."
Everybody.
Without a doubt.
We've got one of them voices, haven't we?
Oh my God! It was too. It was. So I don't know. It was doing some Greek tragedy or something like this, and they'd miscast me as the king, and there'd be all these beautiful. Oh, look, here comes the king. Then I'd come. You all right? How are you doing? You know what I mean? And he'd get a laugh more often than not because it just sounded, rough as toast. And so after doing a few things and being there for a few years, one of the lecturers said to me, "You should try comedy." I said, "Yeah, all right, all right." And that was it. Didn't think any more of it. And I was going past. I was in Liverpool, and I must have been on the bus. And I saw this poster in the window: open mic comedy night, Wednesday nights. I thought, oh, mic comedy. Anyway, logged it, went home. got some stuff together and turned up the Wednesday later. Anyway, so I rolled up. I said, all right, mate. He said, yeah, can I help you? I said, I've come for the comedy night. I'm going to be on. He went, what's your name? So anyway, I told him my name, Sam Harland. He looked down the list. He says, you're not on the list. I said, I'm not on the list. It's an open mic comedy night. He says, oh, there's a big waiting list for this. I thought, well, I've learned something there. And he said, so how long you got material-wise? I don't know. I've got about an hour. And he just started laughing. He said, you get 5. He said, anyway, he said, come in, dickhead. Do you know what I mean? So I went in. And you get 5 minutes, and there's a queue, and you have to put your name down. But I'd sort of learned something, and do you know what I mean? You get 5 minutes, and you just don't walk straight on. And it's sort of it just went from there, really. You just 5 minutes driving around the country, not getting paid, getting stared at by half a dozen students, no money. Yeah, it can be pretty ruthless, you know. And I didn't have any money. I was absolutely skint at the time as well. So I thought, this has got to try and make this work if I can.
To be fair, Sam, that surprised me. That surprised me, Sam, because like you say, I'd have thought you'd have gone as a child. Was you a funny kid type of thing? You know what I mean? Because you just said you kind of made your name in the 30s. You know, I was expecting maybe, you know, you was the class clown, or do you know what I mean? And you kind of took it from an early age, or your mum and dad said, look, you know, you should be on stage when you're a bit older. So to hear that story when you was 30 is quite interesting, to be fair.
Oh, not at all. No, nothing like. No, I was my drinking drugs for me, early days. Chaotic upbringing, absolutely crackers.
Just a normal life and all, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much the life and all. I think when you're born, I think God gives you so many drinking vouchers when you're born. But I'd used all mine up by the time I was 28. I was done. Do you know what I mean? Wedding club, room, Romeo's, just absolutely sort of burnt myself out, really. But just getting into trouble, getting into bother, messing about, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there was no just chaos. It was a lot of chaos, and I ended up in rehab on the Wirral. That's where I ended up round here in about 1997 or something. Right. So once I got off the stuff and everything, went to college and went to drama school, and it sort of my life began, really, if you like, in many ways.
And how long have you been clean now, sir?
Clean and sober about I stopped counting a long time ago, but it's got to be 23, 24 years.
Oh, that's mega. That's mega. Well done, man.
Very good.
Well done. So, I mean, me personally, when I look at, I really like comedy. I've seen yourself plenty of times, which made me reach out to you. But you know, a lot of comedians generally go through like a stage of where they've had maybe a bit of a class where they've learnt the basics of how to be on the stage. I think it's fair to say that from what you've just said, that you just learnt the hard way. You just had to learn from mistakes. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with it, really. It's it can be it can be hard. Do you know what I mean? It can be difficult. It's like what they say. That's what they say. You know when you're getting better, because even when when you used to bomb early days, if you had a bad gig, they'd be bad. They'd be bad. You've got 20 minutes. That's all you've got. You've got no interaction. That's it. They either go for it or they don't. But as you sort of going along, you sort of learn the tricks and see what's going on. Even when you have a bit of a quiet one, it's never your deaths. The bar's risen on your deaths. Do you know what I mean? They're not as they're not as bad. You can sort of you'll grab some out of it, to some degree. Yeah, it's. I sort of like the danger of it though, because obviously my life prior to that was pretty dangerous, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of like the great thing about it is I don't drink anymore, but I'm still out and about and amongst it, and a bit of excitement, a bit of an adrenaline rush.
That's your like fix, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's it really. It is your fix, and it's a great job apart from the driving. I mean, that's hideous. I hate driving. Some acts do. I hate it.
You know, growing up, Sam. So was you funny then? Yeah. Was you funny as a lad, or you know?
Oh yeah, I was funny. I was a clown, and
that's what I'm saying. Where did you pick the comedy up? Where did you actually fit? I know you said it in your 30s, but prior to that, did anybody say, "Listen, you know, you're a funny lad"? Do you know what I mean? Did you ever expect to be where you was now when you were, say, 7 or 8?
Oh not really. Well, there was the thing with not slagging the place off, but there was no outlet for it. It wasn't a thing. The one. I mean, back growing up, we ended up on Orchard Park in the early 80s, big estate, and if you went to college or had a job, you were a big hitter. Do you know, there was no prospects. You either worked at Smith and Nephews or Reckitt's, job for life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But your granddad had to work there as well, and your mum to get. Do you know, it was just like there was no sort of prospects really.
Treat it like royalty because you've got a mortgage.
No, that was it. It's
well,
but
when
now,
you're funny as a kid, you're classed as cheeky, aren't you? Back then. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't really. Yeah. It's classed as cheeky, wasn't it? A little clip around the head. You know what I mean? Pack it up and try and get a decent job type of thing.
Well, that was it. And back then, anyone could hit you, couldn't they? You just have strangers come up and just slap you around the head, didn't you? I ain't done anything. Yeah, we're just thinking about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was brutal. But I think when I moved up here, or down here, or across here, it sort of it opened things up. They had stuff. Oh, you can do that. Oh, you can go here. You can go to uni. You can. Oh, they do have comedy clubs. It became sort of. I thought, oh, like it sort of opened the world up, really.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to speak for everyone here and just say, a credit where it's due, man, because it's not easy to come off that lifestyle and to do it for as long as you have done and turn your life around and be the way you are on the stage is just phenomenal, man. So hats off to you. Hopefully others can see that and try and replicate. So hats off, man.
Well, that's it, mate. I just need to sort out the shoplifting now, and we're done. Do you know what I mean? Really, one day at a time.
All little steps in it. All the little steps make a big goal, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Scott? Let's find out. So that you've obviously played the pro game in the football life. Let's hear a little bit about that. Like, what's the good side to that?
Well, I can relate to Sam really because, again, I'm from a council estate. I actually got brought up in Branzo and then moved to Long Hill. I was surrounded by drugs. I didn't go down that route of what Sam did. I kind of thought, right, every kid for me around my way and probably across the country wants to be a footballer. So for me, it was a case of the good side of that was I just need to train hard. Can I be this player on the telly? Peter Beardsley was a big part of my growing up pattern. So for me, the good sides was when I did start getting them trials at a young age, it gave me a bug. So my bug, instead of your drug, Sam, my bug was football. My little bit of release was football. So then I had my first trial at 11. I went to Oldham and it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And then my second trial, believe it or not, was Man United. And at the age of 12, and they'd been watching me for 4 years because I'm obviously tiny. I'm 5'8", just in case I'm not a dwarf. But so it was a case of, it was for me, that was then. Now everybody needs to be a footballer. I actually generally thought everybody could kick a ball. And when I didn't see the people that couldn't kick it, I kind of looked at them to think, that's not normal type of thing. And then obviously as you become on, you have trials and trials and trials. And then obviously you hit the heights of, sign a contract at Coventry. And then the good parts of that is you're getting up every day, you're training and you love everything that you do. You're training with internationals, you're playing against internationals, and you're playing with a group of players that have got no stresses and strains, and everybody just loves the job. I'd never needed an alarm to get up in the morning because for me it wasn't a job. And like to be fair, like you, Sam, you wouldn't class being a comic as a job, and you don't.
Yeah.
We're very similar in them respects, even though we're miles apart of the career path. But you don't realise that until you're out of the game, to be fair. But the good points are, like you say, it's you sign a pro contract, and you've dreamt of that since you've been a childhood. You know what I mean? So, and then when it happens, don't get me wrong, that's the first ladder of every football establishment, but you feel a part of it straight away. So to me, it was good. Like I say, it was a rough upbringing, but for me, I had to keep away from that side and purely concentrate on the other.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some mad stats. I think it's 1 in 80,000 kids that want to be a footballer, something like that. Actually, turn out being a footballer. That's a crazy stat. Like, It's mad.
It's a conveyor belt. It is a conveyor belt. Obviously we're talking about the good points, but we will go and touch on it. It is a conveyor belt, and it's a tough environment. These parents definitely believe that if they've got a talent, they're definitely going to make it. But there's a long way to go.
Yeah, no, right as you are, and it's a lot of kids' dreams. And you've had that dream, and you've moved on to have, like, being part of that dream. So again, it's a credit to hard work in it, and both of you are that credit, because nothing gets done overnight and nothing gets done quick. So,
and you get to a stage, Matt, as well, where you're going into the training ground. You got your boots are clean for you, your kit's laid out for you. You literally don't have to do anything. The good parts of that, if you go into an office, you're not going to get everything put on a plate for you. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, you don't. You think you're hard done by if you do a double session on a Tuesday. Looking back now, you think, that was 4 hours. But you look back and think, oh, I can't believe we've got a full day. To us was 2 o'clock finish, and we're in at 10. And we're in at 10, by the way. You know what I mean? In at 10, finish at 2. But then, like you say, it's good. But like you say, the good points are, the experience around top players and just footballers in general was brilliant. Really good.
Fair enough. So moving on to the next part, then we'll move on to so moving on to it now, we'll move on to the bad side of the game. I don't want to be the guy who talks about saying things as the bad side, but with everything that's good, there's always something bad. So, Scott, I want you to start us off on this part and tell me about the bad side of the game from your view. Is there anything bad that you've experienced firsthand?
The only thing for me I could say is the injury side of things. No manager, they're not interested in injured players, and rightly so. You're very isolated. You do your own little gym work with the physio and the recovery session team, and that is bad. Especially when I was very lucky that I didn't have a very long injury. Mine was only little niggles, but that was bad enough for me because I was a very busy footballer. I loved to be involved in it. I was a bit of a clown. I loved to be a bit of part of the banter. But when you're out of that, you don't feel like you're in part of the banter. You don't even feel like a footballer. And it's a tough slog by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it does feel like a lonely gig and a lonely place. And people out there might look, and some people might look at this podcast and go, bloody hell, but you're still getting paid. You're still doing this. But your mindset is, you feel left out, and it really is. It's very hard to get your head round, especially like I say when you've got a long injury. It is tough.
Well, it's a short career, isn't it? So with it being a short career, any sort of decent injury, I said decent as in something that puts you back for a year or so, can be hard to come back from. So
you're a long time retired, aren't you?
Exactly that. What about you, Sam? We're going on to the comedy scene and the circuit you're on. What's the bad side to that?
Well, there's a couple of circuits really. There's a couple of circuits with comedy. There's obviously I say obviously, it's not obvious, but there's the alternative circuit, if you like, the comedy clubs, usually format acts, compare free acts, like the Comedy Lounge in Hull, various splattered all over the country. There's that. Then also, last couple of years started doing sportsmen's dinners, which is a different beast altogether. The harder to do, and you've got to do longer. A comedy club's set up for comedy. That's what people are there for. They're sat there, facing the stage. They're there for comedy, compare free acts. So 9 times out of 10, it's nice. Sportsman's dinner poses its own problems. 1, they're all there to see the sportsman. 2, round tables, not necessarily interested in what you got to say. Round tables, not set up for comedy as such. So you've got to. So when you start doing them, it's almost like you're relearning to do a comedy. It's a different thing. Do you know what I mean? And as before, if you're in the comedy club, you might be doing 20 minutes, 25 minutes. These 40, 50 minutes. So I think you've got to be a certain age to do them, really.
I think how you said as well is they're not set up for comedy. So like in a comedy club, you have to keep quiet. As an audience member, you have to keep quiet. You're there to see the act, so you don't talk throughout it. Whereas you haven't really got that same respect, I'd guess, within like a sportsman presentation, because people are there to see the act. see the main guy, the guy who's the main headline. So you was there in between warming them up. I totally get that.
Sam, here's a question for you. When you obviously go, because you obviously do the circuit, so you do go to certain venues a couple of times and stuff like that. Yeah. What did you ever have like that bad feeling where you think I've been here before? I might not get the right reaction. It's like me being a footballer. Accrington Stanley, for an example, I hated going there. Horrible place. Not the people, but it was like porter cabins to get changed in. Tamworth was another one back in the day. I just didn't like going there. And Southport, them three for me just stick out in my brain where psychologically I'm going on the coach, going to the game thinking, I don't like the ground. And that actually did affect my performance on the pitch, believe it or not. But then you go somewhere like Villa Park or Old Trafford, automatically your chest is up. You know what I mean? So is that the same in the comedy sketches of, have you got good places where you know you're going to get a good crowd, or do you go to the bad places where you think, and does it play on your mindset?
I wouldn't say it was place; it was more audiences, really. I suppose I probably appeal to 35 years old and upwards. So talk a lot about growing up and stuff and back in the day and all that sort of stuff. So, and I do count myself as sort of politically, I've got left-wing leanings, really. Do you know what I mean? That's sort of how I am. But I would still struggle at a really left-wing sort of audience type offended things, even though I'm not overly offensive, but you don't really have to be overly offensive anymore. No. There's a lot of really left-wing comedians who I know. There's been a bit of an influx of getting personal emails off audience members and all that sort of stuff. That's becoming a thing. But the thing is, I did a gig the other month and I walked in there and I said to the lad, we just said, this is going to be one of them, innit? And he went, yeah. And it was. You just have to tone it right down, even though there's not a lot to tone down. But that could, but you sort of know sometimes. You just think, you just got to, it's more sort of setting audiences or what you can or can't do, or,
That must be hard to get a different reaction, though, because obviously you've got a set kind of playlist, so to speak, haven't you? So to try and tweak it to suit the audience is tough, surely.
Yeah, you just got to sort of pick out what you think's going to work. You could argue. Some acts would argue, some people argue. Well, just stay true to what you do and soldier on, regardless of the outcome. However, what also you've got to take into consideration is that it's usually an act who runs the gig, and he wants the venue to have another gig. So there's a bit of pressure there involved, really, as well. Thinking, well, I don't want to just go balls deep here. He loses a gig. But people can, people are. I think particularly after the pandemic as well, people are getting used to going out again. They can be sort of oversensitive, and I'm not doing that thing about you can't say anything anymore. You can say what you want. Yeah, there might be a consequence to it, but you can say what you want. And it's not the 70s anymore. No one's doing all that horrible. Do you know what I mean? That's in the past. We don't need any of that. So it can be challenging. But 9 times out, no, even it's very rare, really. You get put where you belong. In many respects.
And you get a sense of how it's going to go from how your first joke lands, I guess, don't you? So,
that's it. Well, it's a process, really. I MC a lot as well, which a lot of acts don't like MCing, but I sort of like it. I like the banter and all this sort of stuff. So it's a really weird thing. So you can come out there in the first section, and they'll be like, "Oh, they're really unsure about you." The first act comes out, everyone goes to the bar. You come out in the second section, and suddenly you're a legend. Nothing's happened. They've had a few scoops, they've chilled out, and also you can get away with a bit more as the sort of night goes on.
Yeah.
You know, so to speak. So yeah, it's interesting, but you've got to. But when it's quiet, just not lose your bottle. Just think, no, we're all right here, and chill out. I suppose when you like when you're playing football, do you know what I mean? Drop a few clangers early on. Just chill out. We're all right. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is, and not sort of panic or get angry and nasty as well. You know, some people do that. You know, they get angry and nasty and but the thing is, you start getting nasty on. I've seen it a lot of times. Something's happened in the audience. Someone's gone launching in. If you go launching in all guns blazing, there's no way. But you can't go back to Mr. Funny after that.
Yeah.
You know, you set your stall out.
I can relate to that, Sam. Like you say, you know, in football terms, you know, you could go down 2-0 after 8 minutes. You know, you're going to get pelters from the fans. You know what I mean? You've got to keep composed. You've got to keep professional. You know, there's times where every football in the country will be with me on this one. You'd love to give it them back, but then you're just fueling more fire for them to just keep falling pelters at you. So, you know, as much as it is a tough, like you say, it could be a tough gig, but a tough gig for me as a footballer, you've got to keep that composure because, like you say, it's a long, you know, you say you've got 15 minutes, the first 3 minutes might be rough, but your last 12 minutes might be perfect. You know, for me as a footballer, my first 10 minutes could be absolutely dreadful, but the next 80 minutes, I could perform, and then all of a sudden I've turned that crowd around again. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. I think you can both relate to this as well, because in terms of highlight reels, they only show the good stuff, don't they? And it only takes in Sam's world one good gag to land, and the audience reaction. Someone gets a snippet of that, it goes viral. Same with a free kick, a penalty, a decent bit of play.
Yeah.
The same thing where it's hard, and it's but we'll move on now into the ugly side of the game. And coming back to you first off, Sam. Is there anything that's really ugly with the comedy scene? Or I mean, it's hard to think that because the comedy scene, everyone just wants to laugh. It's hard to think there'd be an ugly side to it.
Well, it's like anything else, really. It's quite like the football world. It's a small world.
Yeah,
we don't meet. I mean, how many times you're out and about talking in company? I don't know, dinner parties. I don't know if you two. I don't go to dinner parties personally. But how many times you? No, I'm still for a Bentos, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's still a luxury for me. For a Bentos, and how many times you sat next to a footballer or a comedian? You know, it's just a very it's quite a sort of thing. So it's a small world. So I don't know if the football world's like this, but it can be. Do you know what I mean? Someone's getting that job and someone else isn't getting that job, and why? Do you know there's
bit of poison.
Sort of, it can be, and there's jockeying for position, and like you say as well. I mean, like you say about one good joke and you go viral. On the flip side of that is one wrong word in the wrong place. Next thing that's online, that goes viral.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You could argue someone's career could be. Could just be gone. Just with the wrong word in the wrong place. It sort of can be done, and basically everyone in the audience is a cameraman now.
Exactly, and I think this will move on to what Sam's going to say. Not Sam, sorry, Scott's going to say as his ugly side to the game. He spoke to me beforehand about what he thinks the ugly side, and I'll let you mention it, Scott. But
the thing is, like I say, it's just social media. I've wrote down one thing for the ugly side, and it is really social media. I mean, I've got a story that it actually got me a bit of bad press amongst Twitter. What it was, I had swelling in the brain last year, as people know. People that don't know, you know, it's irrelevant. But I've come out of hospital, and I got approached from a very low standard of football management, you know, not you know, still semi-professional. So anyway, I actually took the job on, and it was a case of as soon as I actually took the job on, I knew I shouldn't have done it. Something told me the chairman, I won't mention names or anything like that, but I just knew the chairman wasn't what he's actually set out to be. And his first actual conversation with me was, Scott, you need to get rid of all the squad, the first team squad. So we had a little bit of a, let's say, heated discussion over it. But then he convinced me that there was at least 12 out of the 17 just going to go anywhere. So when you look at it like that, you kind of go, well, there's, I'm only, realistically, I've got to keep 5 players. Technically, I'm releasing 12. So I'm trying to ring these players, and you two might not know, at that level, trying to get older players, it's being a manager, mate, in this era, is very, very hard. You know what I mean? They'll only answer when they want to answer. They didn't know me from Adam, because obviously I'm the new manager coming into a football club. They kind of think, well, I'll answer when I want. Anyway, I wasn't getting the response that I wanted. So I literally put, again, the standard modern day WhatsApp group. Lads, listen, I'm not getting a decent response, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to release the lot of you. Now, I didn't mention the chairman's name, so everything was on me. So anyway, a couple of days went off. Next minute, I'm getting texts, phone calls saying, Scott, you're all over Twitter. You're all over Twitter. Literally, as you do, a young lad, 19, wants a load of likes, wants a load of retweets, has literally screen saved the message from WhatsApp. So that's the only side that they've seen. They didn't hear the chairman's side. I've never come out and publicly said anything, by the way. So they've never heard the chairman's side saying, Scott, you've got to get rid of everybody, blah, blah, blah. And I've still, up to that date, I stuck up for him and just said, look, it's all on me. It went to the local papers. It went absolutely everywhere. So then people get a perception of me saying, oh, he must be horrible. He's released all these players. But it actually got in the paper. I've sacked a full squad. You don't sack players. None of them was on contract. So technically, I wasn't doing anything in the proper football world out of order. But because it come out and all of a sudden, and honestly, this retweet must have gone 500, 600, God knows how many likes. This little lad, he's 17, 18, or whatever he is, he was lapping it up. He was loving it. I never give him the time of day. I didn't even bite once. End of the day for me, I knew what I was doing, but then other people was. So that's the really bad, ugly side for me. It really is bad.
Are you going to give us a name, a chairman name or a club name? Or
well, to be honest with you, the actual this week, believe it or not, this week they've actually folded, and I'll actually tell you the truth. So this chairman.
So today's date, for anybody who doesn't know, it's the 17th of November, 2021. Yeah, so if you want to try and find out the spoilers, there it is.
Yeah, so I think they actually folded yesterday on the 16th. But the chairman was very, very convincing, and people that listen to this will totally get me. He was sending me pictures of a massive house. Scott, I live in here, blah, 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 blah. It ended up, he lived in a caravan. Oh, now, no disrespect to people that live in a caravan, far from it, but when you get in this image of this chairman, honestly, and it actually turned out he lived in a caravan and he hadn't got a pot to piss in. And obviously, as the saying goes, karma, unfortunately, and it's bad really because, the youth setup might get disturbed there and it could be a whole carnage mess. But I'm hoping now, honestly, you couldn't make it up, Sam. And I've literally come out of hospital. Honestly, I've literally come out of hospital, my head's falling off, and I've got a clown telling me I've got to do this, this, and this. Stupidly, I should have, realistically, looking back, I should have not listened to him. But there you go. And that's honestly, so everybody now, and I'll get pelters now of this. People will go, yeah, but you've done this. But people don't know the real person. When they get to know me, they'll go, oh, actually, now you've heard your side of the story, it actually now makes sense of the proper story.
Oh, and that's the thing with social media, isn't it? People only see, you can only see what people want you to see. And that's it.
Yeah, and to be fair, good news travels so far, bad news travels rapid.
So Scott, or should we be calling you the Terminator?
There you go.
So you actually thought this fella had his own helicopter and he was actually like flogging hot dogs outside Ritzy.
I promise you now, honestly, Sam, you could not make this up. I mean, I could. Obviously, I've got a phone now. I could literally destroy him. Realistically, I could destroy. But the thing is, I obviously then got a new team and stuff like that. And then something leaked out of the conversation of me and him. And again, it went on social media. So that circled again. But like I said, even the local reporter thought I was the bad man. You know what I mean? So that's really is. I mean, the worst thing is, the more professional you get, things like that don't leak out. It's only the people that have not been at that level want likes and retweets because they're not professional players, are they? Let's be honest.
No.
Matt, you there?
No, they're not. Yeah, no, they're not.
Well, the thing is, I think the thing is, like you say, the good side and the bad side of comedy, or the good side and bad side of football. It's got actually nothing to do with the actual thing itself, has it? It's people, isn't it?
People.
It's always people, isn't it?
They'll always have like an opinion on you straight away. You know what I mean? I mean, you can read loads of clippings of me. You know, people will always paint you in a bad picture, especially if you've been at the Premier League and then you go down into especially management side of things. They'll always, as soon as you get beat, you'll have people ringing you. You never have people ringing you when you win. So that's when you kind of think, well, these people are only ringing when I'm, you know, what's going on? So again, there's a little bit of poison, maybe a little bit of jealousy. I'm not too sure, but you just think if you're going to be continuous with your phone calling, do it every week, because obviously you don't lose every week. But do you know what I mean? It's ruthless. But like you say, I've never been. Well, yeah. I've been a professional person, so you don't leak things out because you get taught, you know, be professional, be careful what you say. But then you go very low in the football pyramid. They don't care. They just want this big limelight on them on social media.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, really. Even on the comedy circuit, like if some acts has a right stinker, which we all have, that'll travel around quicker than if someone smashed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bad news always travel.
Epic deaths. Yeah, one of them epic deaths. One of them deaths up. He just leaves a little scar.
Yeah. No, it is, don't it? And the thing is, for me, I didn't see much, but I was quite lucky in the fact that as a player, I never really got much abuse. But as a coach and a manager, it's that again, because when it got to a coach and managing side, that's when the social media started going bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So you know what I mean? So maybe now, if I was a player, I would probably get pelters for some performances. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, as social media gets bigger, you know, you are in a shop window of sometimes you can't really defend it either. Because if you defend it on Twitter, or for example, it'll just keep going because they'll just think you've got you and got you and got you. I ignore the comments. You've got to have skin like a rhinoceros. Yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, we've got one, haven't we? We've got one already.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it is what it is, isn't it? And we're not going to look at that, and we're not going to give anyone like that the time of day. But I think there's no better place to go from talking about the ugly side of the game to, you know, moving on to the next section now. So going into the second half, we're going to speak about highlights and lowlights. So, Sam, give me the highlight of your comedy career.
Highlight?
The best moment you've had.
To be truthful with you, it's not that. I mean, I've been on with all sorts of people, which is good. But my highlight's not as it's more of a personal highlight, really. Was probably doing my one-man show in Hull.
I remember seeing this.
Yeah, for where I'd come, and only got one go at it. Lockdown came. It might have been, it might have been in between lockdowns. We got that false dawn.
Yeah.
No, we're back. No, we're not. You need to know this.
That
so
revolving door.
Yeah, because it sort of come full circle. Really, it come from like leaving Hull in that how I was to sort of coming all the way back and doing a one-man show, which was basically getting paid for talking about the journey, the sort of warts and all, if you like. So anyway, I only got one crack at it, because usually you'd have like you'd do like a pre-show thing and you'd audiences and you'd try it out once you got your show together. Then you'd go with the finished article. But it was like a one. I mean, I will do another one. But yeah, that was probably my highlight, really.
I think when, as an audience member for the comedy clubs, I think what you normally see is you'll see 3 acts are coming on and you've got to compare. And that's generally how that goes. You'll have it comes on in between each act. But for you to say you had your own show, it goes past that level to the point where you'll have a warm-up and then that's you for an hour, or that's you for however long your material is going to be. And is that what you aim for as a comedian, to have that moment? Because we see it all the time where comedians are selling out arenas and stuff, don't we?
Well, some do. I mean, there's a difference when you get like a job. You'll get like a jobbing comedian who will just like be working every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, doing what they do, with no interest in really doing a show. Like a dinner act or such like. And some do. Some go to Edinburgh and do the stuff, do a show and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's sort of various, and some people. I mean, you could argue if you're working every Friday and Saturday, you're a success. Not every act wants to be on the telly. You know, think, oh, you never know. One day you might get. That's what the older ones. That's what the older ones say to you. Like, I don't know, your auntie or someone of a certain age. They say, "Oh, where are you tonight, Sam?" And you say, "Oh, I'm in Macclesfield," and they go like, "Oh, well, you never know who's going to be there." Well, yeah, there'll be no one there. There never is. Do you know what I mean? It's if some bloke's going to, some bloke with a big cigar and like sheepskin jacket over his shoulders. Can I have a word with your son? We'll go and play. It's all changed. Back in the day, if you was a comedian and you ended up on the comedians, then you were med. But it's just not. It's not like that anymore. Things are different. Do you know? It's the world's changed. People are sort of doing sort of similar stuff like this. People are going viral and on all sorts of stuff. It's like Tiny Tim, who I've been supporting. Tiny Tim, he went viral online. Do you know, doing the kid's voice, bringing people up, and he's got a following.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You sort of have to. People are etching out their own thing, becoming sort of master of their own destiny, so to speak. I mean, like I say, I mean, you could argue it's lack of ambition, but at this moment in time, I'm just sort of happy ticking along, earning a few quid, and I don't like the driving. I hate driving, diversions, and do you know what I mean? You're done in and you're driving. Do you know what I mean? 40 miles an hour down. Oh, do you know what I mean?
Hey, Sam, you know what? I love that, though. I love that. You know, being on the coach, well, obviously I didn't drive, but being on the coach on the away games, that was the best thing for me. Playing cards, having a few beers on the way. Oh, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere and the team bonding, brilliant. But obviously you have to drive, don't you? But for me, it was brilliant. I love the away games.
You've literally just mentioned everything that Sam can't do on the way home there. He can't.
That's what I'm saying.
He can't have his cards.
No, that's what I mean. I'm the opposite. I absolutely loved it. Honestly, brilliant.
Well, me, it's just driving home 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a diversion near Goole. It's always near Goole for some reason. Diversion near Goole. And it's just me like mopping up my tears with a gangster. Do you know what I mean? Angry as well. Did you see the blokes who've like done the diversion, just sat in the van, the faces of the trucks are on the phone, and I bid me on at them and all that, just got dead mad. And but yeah, I don't like driving. But we get put up in a little bed and breakfast now on Coltman Street, and I live the dream. So we're in all there. It's honest to God, it's like John and Sandra run it, lovely people. Guest house. I think it used to be a knocking shop back in the day. It's a Netflix documentary waiting to happen. Do you know what I mean? But it's great. It's just proper. It's like proper old school. Do you know what I mean? He pulls the hatch open, cigarette in his mouth, in his underpants, proper like rising down. My God, but it's great. You just chill out.
Brilliant.
So that's a party then, is it? After the gigs, you go to Coltman Street. So
up Coltman Street with Sandra. Yeah, great people, absolutely smashing.
Well, I was going to ask you the lows of being a comedian as well, but it looks like you covered it in terms of the driving. So
yeah, I don't like driving. I don't like driving. Don't like driving at all.
Fair enough.
Scott's probably got a real fancy car. I've got a Ford Focus. I mean, it's the best car I've had. Diesel, 1.6. You know what I mean? It'll do a bit, but
what more do you need, mate?
Comfort.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So if it gets nicked or anything, you're like, whatever. You know.
I know this is on the. I know this is on the high one of the thingy. But saying about cars, just going back to social media. I'm sorry about that, but so my daughter took a picture. My daughter had a picture of a friend. Now there was a car behind the picture, and obviously proud dad. I put it on social media, and this one person. Actually, it must have been eating him inside. He's put, can't believe all the money. This is what he said. I've got no money, by the way. Apart from all the money that you've got, Scott, and you've got a car like that. And I'm thinking, what? I didn't see the thingy anyway. I've looked. It's a red Mini behind.
Bad.
This is what people do. No, but listen to this. Matt, it wasn't even my driveway. So automatically, my daughter's took obviously. My daughter's friend's mum must have took a picture on their driveway. There's a red Mini behind them, and he couldn't wait to get on there to try and get likes and stuff like that. And go, can't believe you've got a red Mini. I thought you'd have a better car than that.
Oh, that's the world we live in, though, isn't it?
Matt, I promise you now. So I don't very rarely bite back. I've just put, mate, it's not even my driveway. 2 minutes later, comment deleted, but I screen saved it because it was that bad. I thought, oh my God. So yeah, so
that's you want to be online, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So for me, that is, I know I've skipped and obviously gone there, but that's how bad and that's how much people can be with just one photo, and then all of a sudden they've pictured. I've got a red Mini. I think it was a 12 plate. It's irrelevant to me, but it's madness, isn't it? And that's the type of stuff I've had for probably 10 years. Little daft things, but you just think, come on.
We're above that, aren't we? That's.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, this was like 4 years ago, whatever it was. But it always sticks in my head thinking.
You switch. We're going to switch off from that sort of stuff, and we know what it is, and we know how much of a devil it can be. So it's best that we don't entertain that sort of stuff. And by talking about it now, we're only giving them the time of day, aren't we? Oh, we made a podcast. But Scott, move on to yourself then. The highlights. What was the highlight of your career? I mean, it could be a big goal where you've scored away from home.
The highs for me. Again, when you're a kid, you want to play for England. I did. I played twice for under-17s. I wanted to be a sticker. I achieved being a sticker. I wanted to score on Sky Sports. I scored on Sky Sports. I wanted to be in the Premier League. Unfortunately, I made the bench once in the Premier League. And the best one was, obviously, everybody's played Championship Manager as a kid.
Yeah, you wanted to be on that.
Well, I was, and I bought myself. I was Man United. I put myself straight in the first team. Within 2 years, I was worth 4 million, and everybody will have done it. It doesn't matter who it is, everyone's done that. So I've achieved everything, but only in a small dose. I wanted a bigger dose of it, but yeah, that was my achievements. And
Scott, I'm not about trying to put a dampener or anything, but it sounded a lot like, do you know when someone says to you, like, you just got to be a little bit more realistic? No, but I want to win the World Cup. No, you can be a sticker. Aim to be a sticker. You're probably going to do that.
You know what it is?
That's what it's come across a bit.
Right, I promise you now, right? My mum, bless her, she actually said to me, just because obviously I did all the sticker books and all that.
Scott the Panini. There he is.
Yeah, she goes, that'll be you one day. And I just thought, yeah. So that was on like my little to-do list. I want to be a sticker. I think there's only 2 of me about ever, but she's got the only 2. That's it. Yeah, I swear that.
Doing swaps in the back with the kids.
Honestly, mate, she has got it.
Give me 5 reals.
So that was my mum's obviously thingy. But yeah, I was properly excited when I seen it. I thought, yeah, I love a bit of that.
No, that's decent. That's decent.
I mean, that's impressed. I mean, that's it. I'd give it all up now to be a sticker. I'll be honest with you.
Hey,
that's
and the thing is, you can't have it wonky. You know what I mean? It has to be bang on right.
Oh, it's gonna be better.
Yeah, I tell you what, Scott. Do you know if you've got anyone who's got a tattoo of Scott Goodwin?
No,
that would be a shout. If anybody listening, if they have, let's have a look at that.
Imagine that.
You've scored the winner away from home, so if Scott scores this winner, I'm going to get a tattoo with him. You'll bet between the mates. But what's the low lights for you then? What's the downside? What's the worst moment in the game?
So when you obviously you work so hard to be a footballer, and obviously football's all about opinions. And for me, obviously getting released, I think I was 21 at Coventry, 2021, and I went through Phil Neal, Ron Atkinson, and then Gordon Strachan just said, look, we've got to release you. And it felt like the end of the world. It really did. And looking back now, it did make me stronger as a person. But for them element of a week or two, I was the worst football in my head. What have I done? How can I tell my parents? And back then again, we didn't really get that much help within a guidance of someone sitting you down saying, listen, if you do X, Y, and Z, we'll get you this course or whatever. So you kind of had all these like thoughts in your head thinking, well, that's me done. I'm 2021. I've now got to go in the real world.
Yeah.
Or you roll your sleeves up and go, right, I'll go at it again. But I know so many people that have got released at that young age and they've never kicked a ball again. And there's thousands out there that do it. So for me, the low point is, it's a rejection, innit, I suppose, and it's an opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad footballer. There's one person or a coaching staff's opinion, but the next coaching staff might think you're one of the better people in the squad. And, and that's how I did my trade. I went to another one, bit of a low confidence as you expected, and but luckily enough, I made a few quid out of the game, and I was happy. But I always think if that was Ron Atkinson over Gordon Strachan, would I stayed at Coventry a little bit longer? And that's I can't answer that, and that's 27 years ago, but. So the lows for me are it's a dark time as well. It really is, and it sounds stupid to some people, but it really is.
Released,
it's awful. It's awful.
But everything you put into growing up has led to you going to that moment where someone's making a decision on your future. So I understand it, and I think a player for Hull City, you may remember, it's Sam Clucas. He went through exactly that. He got released and he went back. I think he was working in House of Fraser at one point, and then all of a sudden he's back on the screen and he's scoring goals in the Premier League for Hull City. So
yeah. It's funny. Can I just pick up on what Scott said then? Because it's a similar sort of thing, but I think when I not unlike a similar sort of thing. But when I started doing comedy, I was messing about at first, really. I'm doing bits, bobs. It was like a bit of an hobby, not really committing. Yeah. I think I had about 3 deaths on the trot for obvious reasons. Then I thought, I come to the conclusion, you come to that conclusion, you're either doing this or you're not.
Yeah.
You either do it or you're not. You don't. Yeah. It's not a hobby. You're doing it or you're not. And I think, that applies to a lot of acts, like the footballers. At some point, it's just like. You jump it. You're gonna have a jump one way or the other. It's gonna make you stronger. It might not be for you. Yeah. But it's a very sort of similar thing to that, really. Do you know what I mean? Just do it or don't do it, really.
And that's kind of how you've got to be with it. Most things, though, isn't it? That's kind of just how you've got to get on with it. You're either all in or you're all out.
And that's why I'm pelting you, Matt, every day, aren't I? To be fair.
I don't get a second's peace, mate. Honestly, I'm just trying to chill out and watch Bake Off, and there's you ringing me 3 times an hour.
I'll be honest with you, it must be at least 25 calls a day, easy.
Yeah. Sam, you've got the easy life, mate. Honestly, I've got a full-time job, and then this guy's another full-time job.
I like Sam. He just puts a thumb up, doesn't he, Sam? Yeah, I'm ready.
So what was going to do is going to go into the quick fire questions, where I fired 5 questions at Sam, 5 questions at Scott, and these have just been quick answers. But we seem to have lost Scott due to a technical hitch, so I think we'll just call it a day there. It's been really productive for ourselves. Our first one, we're really happy with what's gone on. It's been a pleasure speaking with Sam and Scott. I don't know about yourself, Sam. How was the experience for yourself?
No, smashing, mate. We're just we're all right, aren't we? We're all right.
I think so. I think we've got about 40 minutes worth of content, and it's took us an hour. So onwards and upwards from there, right?
Smashing.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for anybody who's been following us recently, anybody who's liked the Facebook page recently, and more importantly, anybody who's tuned in to listen to this episode. It's been a pleasure, like I say, filming it. Hopefully you all enjoy and look out for the next one. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic.
Cheers, Sam.
Take care, pal.
Speak to you later. Thank you.
Speak to you later, mate.
Bye.